Hey everyone, what's the crack? Lawrence here with the brand new Simagic Alpha EVO lineup. I've got the Sport, I've got the Pro. This is going to be a good one. The Alpha Mini and the Alpha and the Alpha U completely blew you all away. Are these better? Are these competitors? We're going to find it all out in this video. Let's do this. So they have also sent me an early prototype of the QR-A, which is apparently a quick release which allows you to use third-party wheels. So we'll have a look at that in a moment as well. And for now, we're going to just get this Sport out of the box. I've seen this in real life. I saw this at the expo in Dortmund back in October. Now, we're in May now, so it's quite a few months later. These are finally coming to light. We've got some cool stickers here, including some new designs. So these are kind of very, I don't know, very arcadey or gamey or whatever. They're quite cool, those stickers. And we have another barrage of stickers in here. Let's see. We've got these ones which we've seen before on other Simagic products. Then we've got this sticker sheet, which is very, very cool. There's some new, they're trying out new graphics here. Kind of a lot of old school. This is kind of, I think these are kind of like the stickers you might see on a lot of like NASCAR and oval racing and stuff. These are very recognizable styles from that. This is recognizable from drifting, I guess, at this stage, Formula Drift, and sticker for the back of the seat as well. So very cool that they're kind of embracing that whole, people love to rep the brand, and I think that's something that's going really well with Simagic at the moment. People love to, by seeing the brand out there, people are automatically assuming that it's good. They're also, you know, seeing their friends using it and their friends being happy with it. So here we have a little instruction manual. This shows the ins and outs of what we're doing here with this. So I'll let you guys have a little scan through that, or pause if you want to see it. It shows what's included as well. Let's go straight into it here, straight into the power supply. So this power supply is quite unique looking. This is a different looking power supply to what we usually see. And this is a 252 watt, so 48 volt power supply. It takes a standard kettle lead connection here, and it's got one of these connections at the other end. That's actually a nice compact power supply for the size of it, considering that's a 250 watt. That's quite good. We've got some USB cables here, USB A to C, and we've also got a USB A to USB B. We've got the UK and Irish plug here. You'd probably get whatever plug in your region. And they still have this on-off switch on the plug, which I never really understood. I understood it, but it's not very practical, because usually where these are, it's not very accessible on a sim rig. So I would like a power button on the unit itself. I hope they've put one of those in. We've got some mounting hardware here. So these are just some bolts for the side mounting and for the base mounting. So I don't know if they've included any side mounts or anything with this. I don't think they have. More foam here. Move that out of the way. And then in here, we can see the Alpha EVO. There we go. Let's pull this out. Nothing else in here. And right away, we've got, it's slightly wider than it is tall. Where the older Simagic units were very, very square, this is a little bit more kind of a little bit longer than it, a little bit wider than it is tall. We've got the magnetic area here. Remember, we saw that screen at the Dortmund Expo, which you could just clip off and clip onto a steering wheel and stuff. This seems to have been kind of peeled. I don't know if that happened in transit or what, but that's not particularly nice there. So this all looks intact. Apparently, one of the things that they're really pushing is like the no cogging thing, right? And how people generally test that is when the unit is off, the magnets, you feel them with most wheelbases. You feel very little there, but I mean, honestly, when you're actually using like an Alpha, you know, the older Alpha, for example, you don't actually feel that. Well, I don't feel that while driving. I know people claim that they do, but for me, it's just, it's not an issue. It never has been an issue. So even though that's a big selling point, I don't know. The big selling points that I think for this are we've got apparently better force feedback. I'm very excited to try that. We've got USB pass-through and power pass-through through the shaft. So that's something that's very, very interesting. And at the back, when we look here, we've got a whole barrage of connectivity here. Lots and lots and lots and lots of ports. Very curious what all of those are and if they'll be useful for me. I don't know at this point in time. I'm assuming that the EVO Pro is going to be very similar. I'm going to take that out of the box as well in just a moment. I do note straight away that I don't think you can take this front off very easily. I think the front mounting is not that straightforward. Let me just have a quick look at the manual because I think I saw some stuff about base mounting there. Yeah, front mounting. Yeah, front mounting is a complex procedure. So if you look here, the front mount is actually a side mount. It's got little bits on the side. That is very disappointing in my opinion because I love a front mounted wheelbase. The main reason I usually base mount is so that I don't have to change my wheel decks. I've got that great wheel deck from ASR Pro on my ASR Pro, which allows me to move things that are base mounted, and that's all great. It can fit pretty much anything. It's pretty universal. But if I wasn't a reviewer, I would want to just front mount. And this, I feel like they've kind of, I don't know if this bracket, you know, I don't necessarily think that bracket was entirely necessary. But look, it is what it is. The form factor of the older device is slightly smaller. Maybe they've made more space in there now for more, pass-through connectivity. I really don't know how that all works. And I'm not going to be taking it apart. I am going to just be putting it on the rig and putting it through its paces. Let's grab that Pro and put them side by side. So the Pro comes with all the exact same stuff. The only difference really here is this power supply. So we see that this is a 400 watt power supply. So it's 48 volts, 8.3 amps. So again, relatively compact for what it is. This is probably the most compact 400 watt power supply that I've seen. It's by this brand GVE. I'm not sure if people recognize that. It does have Simagic labeling on there as well. It looks nice. The power supplies are well presented and a lot nicer than a lot of the competitors. When it comes to these two, I'm just going to put them side by side briefly. The eagle-eyed amongst you will know that I don't have the non-sport or non-EVO, and that's one thing I wanted to bring up. So I specifically asked not to have that one because I think there's, when we try the entry level and we try the top one, there are certain assumptions that we can make. But the thing that I wanted to bring up was the naming. And I don't know what Simagic is doing with naming these days. You've got all the PHPR and all that kind of stuff. I understood P1000, P2000, that was fine. Kind of understood Alpha, Alpha Mini, Alpha U. They've gone and put more names on there. So they've kept the Alpha branding, but now they've also got EVO and they've got this Up Plus system, and the one in the middle doesn't have a name. So I keep calling it the 12 Newton meter because this is the 9 Newton meter. There's a 12 Newton meter, and then there is the 18 Newton meter one as well. So the naming is a little bit confusing, and as someone who speaks about these every day, it's very nice to be able to identify them by name very easily. But when I talk about Alpha, people are like, is that the Alpha U or the Alpha Mini? Like, no, but it's going to be even more complicated with this because it's like the Alpha Evo, the Alpha EVO Pro, Alpha Evo, and they're not even called Mini and Ultimate anymore. That is just, I think Simagic needs to really kind of stick with this branding, just stick with this naming and keep going with it because it's just getting a little bit confusing. If you agree in the comments, go for it. Tell me in the comments. If I'm talking nonsense, maybe it's just me because I talk about this hardware all the time. But yeah, that naming's a little bit confusing. Size-wise, we see that obviously the rear part here where it has the controller, encoder, all that kind of stuff is all the same. We see the motor slightly larger. Again, as I say, 9 Newton meters and 18 Newton meters. So that's the most typical difference that you see with these devices. As for everything else, there is absolutely no difference. There's nothing that one has that the other doesn't. I'm going to show you quickly the mounting options. I'll lift up the slightly lighter one. So we've got mounting options at the side, which I really loved with the Alpha, and we've got the base mount, exact same pattern as the previous ones. So if you are upgrading from an Alpha Mini to the Sport, for example, I don't know if that's a thing that people will do, but it is a direct bolt on. You don't need any mounts or anything like that that's any different. And the same for the side mounts. Again, you're just missing that front mount, which is a little bit frustrating. All of your existing stuff should fit here. When we look at the pins on the shaft, it looks very similar to the previous devices. The only difference that we have is we've got these kind of spring-loaded little guys here that I would imagine are for maybe for power or maybe just for cushioning. I don't know, but these bolts are slightly, they sit slightly proud of the unit. I don't know if you can see that on the camera there. So there is a little bit of scope for things to rub off those things. They had kind of a similar design at the very start of Simagic. Then they went for a very flush design, and now it's less flush. But the quick release on this, exactly the same as far as I can see. So we'll figure that out as we go along. Let's grab that QR-A. Again, this is an early prototype. I will be using it, and I will be attaching aftermarket devices to it. So we've got a little QR-A manual here. That's one thing that I completely love about Simagic at the moment. They're very open to other brands, which is something that has traditionally not been associated with sim racing brands in general, but large companies like Simagic, I think it's fair to call them large now, they love to trap people in their ecosystem. So creating something like this traditionally would have been like an anti-pattern of business, but now it's something that's, Asetek has been a pioneer in this area, and it shows that it really works for them. It allows people to pick and choose parts of your ecosystem, be loyal to your ecosystem, but not exclusively tied in. And that's a big problem that Fanatec have, is that people get tied in and they get so upset with being tied in that they tend to want to just go out completely. Now that you can still USB connect individual Fanatec items and all that, but traditionally the ecosystem has been their strong selling point. So in here we've got orange. So this is again the new color for Simagic. It used to be like red quick releases and that. This is orange, and what's cool in here is that we see USB. There's a USB port here. I don't know if you can see that there, but that is a full-on USB port. So what we can do in theory is mount our steering wheel to this and then just stick our USB cable in there, and that's that. So I will definitely be using this with an aftermarket wheel for my live streams and all that. I already know pretty much everything there is to know about the Simagic wheels. Obviously I'll be attaching those as well. Mainly probably the GT Neo and the Neo X, because I absolutely love them. I do love some of the other ones, the GTS and all that, but I just think that those GT Neo, that Neo range is just absolutely incredible. So I'll be using those. There is the Maglink with that. The Maglink, I don't know if there were certain things with the Maglink that you needed the Maglink for, like Simhub compatibility. I don't know if this addresses, if you can just hook the Maglink into this and then get your Simhub compatibility, or if Simhub compatibility will happen natively here, or if you still need that Maglink. They're all things that we're going to figure out here. I'm going to put the Sport on my rig first, and I'm going to use it for a couple of days. I'm not going to do these back to back on the rig straight away. I'm really taking my time with this, and then I'm going to see if the upgrade to the Pro is actually worth it. And that's kind of the main question that I get asked. What generally transpires is the entry level is generally good enough, especially for beginners. The Pro is usually, the top level is usually overkill. Now at 80 Newton meters, this may not be overkill. There's not likely to be I haven't heard anything about an ultimate version or whatever, but note that they haven't used the ultimate naming yet. So maybe in the future, they might have another one in the lineup. I really don't know. This is the Pro, not the Ultimate. If we look at the Simicube naming, it's kind of Simicube Sport, Simicube Pro, Simicube Ultimate. And then there's the unbranded one in the middle, the 12 Newton meter. One very interesting thing, the 12 Newton meter and the 9 Newton meter share almost exactly the same specs, same size, same weight, all that. They are apparently separate products, so you cannot just upgrade with a power supply from the 9 to the 12. And just one final thing that I'm after noticing here, because I was just about to take my product photos for my Instagram and all that, there's this big, ugly yellow sticker on the top. And it clearly says, do not remove. Do not remove. But it's hideously ugly. So I'm removing it. It serves no function. I think it's safe to remove this. This is not product advice or whatever. But yeah, I don't know why it says do not remove on those. If I get electrocuted during my first impressions, you guys will know it looks much better without those stickers on there. Let's hop in the rig. Okay, so when I open up the software, very latest firmware version, it needs an update. So let's do that update quickly. We can see that GT Neo is making lots of weird and wonderful colors. Okay, and as it's done that now, let's see. This looks quite different to the last time I looked at this. Got mechanical damper, force feedback. This all looks slightly different to the last time I had a Simagic wheelbase on here. This is quite new to me. 900 degrees. We've got some presets here. So I've loaded up there Assetto Corsa preset. I don't know what it's going to be like. We're going to tweak it slightly. I'm going to take it for a drive. This, of course, is the Sport. I will be trying the Pro as well. But just to see if I get that wow factor. They say it's better force feedback. The Alpha had amazing force feedback. In my opinion, the Alpha Mini was really sensational. So if this is better, I will eat my hat. I'll be very surprised, to be honest. So let's hop in a sim and figure it out. So I had to just get this hooked up a little bit closer to the rig. So just so I get a better field of view and stuff. That's a fairly comfortable driving position now where it is. The first thing that I just want to show is that when I go into this view here at the Simagic GT Neo, it says brightness must be set to 100% in Sim Pro and the wheel must be connected through USB. So it is searching device, it's not finding it. You still need the GT or the Maglink to get Simhub compatibility. So that is definitely a big negative for the existing GT Neo and Neo X. Actually, let's just try the Neo X. And then when we go out of this back into Neo X, searching device, it still says needs to be connected through USB. So that is a bit of a negative, to be honest. I was expecting that we wouldn't need the Maglink. I thought the Maglink was just a stopgap for the older bases. The fact that we still need it with for Simhub compatibility with the newer ones, that's a bit of a pity. Now, I have been told that the upcoming Zeus range, they don't need the Maglink cable, but I mean, well, I'm a little disappointed because here I am with this amazing base, this sensational steering wheel, and I can't get the full experience from it without that cable, and that's a real pity. I'm really quite just a little disappointed by that. Now they do have the USB, this one here, this quick release with the USB in it. I have it attached to this, but I'm having power issues with that. So the screen is coming on, but there's no power. There's not enough power being delivered to that. Now, they told me that this is a known issue with the pre-production version. So at this point, my confidence in that QR-A is relatively low. Like, I've got some other Simagic rims here. This is the GT Pro button plate, which I still really, really love. I prefer this even to the Neo X, which, even though the GT Neo is my favorite Simagic steering wheel, I really love that. And I thought I had the, oh yeah, here we go, the Simagic GTS as well. And the reason I brought the GTS into this is because the GTS is a slightly smaller round steering wheel. So if I find that the force feedback is not enough, I'll switch to this smaller round rim. So in the car here, and first things first, that's super light. I have my in-game force feedback at 100. Let's just try it like this, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to turn this up. I know what this car should feel like, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to turn that up. Yeah, I'm going to turn that up. Where's my Simagic software? Here. Oh, wow, that's already at 7.2. Okay. That seems... I would have... At a guess, I would have said that was at like 4. Huh. So this is at 9 Newton meters now. And my in-game is at 100. Let's see how that feels. There's a lot of kind of vibration noises coming. I am getting a lot of detail, which is good. A lot of detail. There's a certain amount of vibration, almost akin to like a true force type of thing. This has none of that, not that I know of. Got a nice bit of feeling there. I'm God, dare I say I'm lacking power. Like, the Alpha Mini was supposed to be 10 Newton meters, and it turned out it was like 11 plus, but it was plenty of power. This is 9 Newton meters. I'm running at 100%, so let's see, is there anything else? Let's turn down the dampers here. Friction. Wheel rotation speed. Let's just turn that up. Just hit that to 70. And the force feedback detail. Oh, the slew rate control. Let's put that up to 50. Let's see if that gives it more feeling. I mean, the feeling itself is good, right? I just don't have a lot of force. Which is a bit of a pity. Now, it's very good. As a beginner wheelbase, probably more, you're like, you're going to try this. You can say, what was Lawrence talking about? You need more power. This thing is going to try to take my hands off. But we have to remember, I'm in a formula car here, which has very, very heavy steering. That's the way they're supposed to be. I have to say I'm lacking power here, guys. Great entry level. The details are spot on. Don't get me wrong. The force feedback detail is really good. And I'm actually somewhat excited about trying. I have the Pro as well. But where I, in the past, would have said, if all you can afford is the Alpha Mini, just get it because you won't be disappointed. I feel like this kind of needs a little bit more power. Again, as I say, the details are nice. Let's just concentrate on those details, because I'm going to have to just search a little bit harder for them. Especially here. There are a couple of crests and stuff that are really a tell of the quality of the force feedback. I mean, they feel great. They really do feel good. I just need more range. I just don't seem to have the range. And there is a lot of vibration-y noise. I'm not sure where that vibration is coming from. I'll figure that out. Don't worry about that for now. That could just be the power going elsewhere in my rig, but I'm not used to having that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe I was expecting that Alpha Mini experience that I had before, but then many people said that I got an early version Alpha Mini, and that was actually closer to the Alpha EVO, so not the Sport, not the Pro, the 12 Newton meters. That was like 11 Newton meters peak. This definitely feels like 9 Newton meters peak. And I don't have that confirmed. I have asked them, is it peak or is it holding? And if I do get an answer before this video is released, I will put it in the comments, but it seems nobody really seems to know. This is an enjoyable force feedback experience. You can definitely feel those slides. You can definitely catch them and all that. I want it, you know, I want to turn it up a little bit. And I usually, even when I have a 20 Newton meter base, I usually run it around 12. So I would probably say that the 12 Newton meter is going to be enough for most people. If it was my money, considering the price differences and stuff like that, and just knowing what I know from this, I would go for that Pro. I can't wait to put that Pro on the rig, because yeah, that should have the power that I'm missing here. Let's just quickly... Oh, don't put it into reverse. And you can see there, the steering wheel completely flew out of my hands. Let's just throw on this smaller steering wheel, and let's give that a go. See if that gives me... This is a 300 mil. Let's see if that gives me any more. So I definitely feel slightly more. And it is good quality force feedback. Let's not get that twisted, because the force feedback quality itself is phenomenal. Maybe I've glossed over that a little bit. But I do feel like I'm just missing that bit of power. Even with this steering wheel, this will be plenty for a beginner to intermediate, but I can see people at some stage wanting slightly more, and it's not necessarily... I don't want it to be pulled out of my hands. I just want... And maybe it's just a refinement thing, but I just feel like I'm missing a little bit. Let's throw up that mechanical friction. Maybe that's part of what I'm missing. That does feel good. It makes the super light patches less light. I'm going to just switch back to the GT Neo. So with that mechanical friction up, it does make that kind of almost like the minimum amount of force that you feel, makes that a little bit higher. Let's throw that up a little bit, but I don't really like mechanical... Don't really like mechanical friction. That does make it feel a bit more powerful. So I've got a little bit more force in the low force areas, if that makes sense. So when you're going pretty straight, there's not a lot of load on the steering wheel. So this definitely does feel a little bit better. And perhaps it's just a case of getting used to it. But I'm after coming from the Moza R12, which the R12 I would run at maybe 70 or 80% in this. That's why I'm a little bit surprised that this 9 Newton meter isn't kind of almost the same as what I feel in that. So that's just, it's interesting. So after a couple of days with the EVO Sport, I now have the Pro on here. We're just updating the firmware for the first time. So just showing once more in Simhub, I have no Maglink connected or whatever, but it's not, Simhub is not finding the device. Like, let's not blow it completely out of perspective. There are additional features that most other wheels don't have, but because they're there, because I've experienced them, I really want that. And I was hoping that a new generation of wheelbase would get rid of that need for that cable and I would still have all that functionality. So that is a major thing for me, just from a quality of life point of view. It's still, that's something that sets it apart from all the rest of the wheelbases. So it still elevates it that little bit higher. What I'm mainly looking for here with the Pro is a power. So if we look at let's go for our profile here. So we've got a basic Assetto Corsa profile selected. It's showing 18 Newton meters. We're on 9 Newton meters right now. We're just going to run it on the 9 Newton meters. Coincidentally, that's already on 9 Newton meters. I want to see if it's heavier or lighter than the Sport at 9 Newton meters, because that's an important thing that you guys often want to know. So right now that feels very similar to what I had with the Sport. So it was relatively light. Yeah. So at 9 Newton meters, that really, and I did check, guys. I checked my in-game gain was at 100%. And usually you guys might even remember, you know, if I'm on an R12 or the Asetek La Prima, I have to turn that down. The R9, I was, you know, I could get it to 9 Newton meters and use it. And I felt that the R9 was relatively, you know, not that strong. So maybe I'm just not used to 9 Newton meters anymore. But just to give you guys perspective, I've got 2 fingers on the wheel here. So I'm just pushing against the wheel and I can go through that corner. That's a high speed. Okay, now there's a bit of strain on my fingers, but my fingers are not that strong. And this is 9 Newton meters, even with the EVO. Honestly, I don't think, and I can't say this without measuring it, but I don't have the tools to measure it. I don't think this is 9 Newton meters. Even though the software is saying 9 Newton meters, what I want to do straight away is, that feels very similar to the EVO Sport. Let's crank it up. Let's go up to like 15 Newton meters. 14.9. So I already feel, I like that you don't have to click save and stuff. I already feel far more resistance here. This is much more along the lines of what I expect. But even this, and I've tested the Alpha, I've tested the Alpha Mini, the Alpha U, all with this exact car and track, exact same software. 15 Newton meters, that would be 100% with the Alpha, with the Simagic Alpha. That would have ripped my arms off. This is relatively easy. Now, this feels more like 11 or 12 Newton meters to me. Again, this is not scientific. This is just how I remember it. The force feedback quality, though, is exceptional here. It's very, very good. Like, it's very, very nice. The bass does make quite a bit of noise. So if you are concerned about someone in the other room potentially being annoyed by, remember with the old Logitech wheels, there was a clickety-clackety. Here there's like a lot of vibration. It's sending a huge amount of vibration through my rig, which, you know, obviously means it's giving lots of detailed force feedback. It's basically giving very short, sharp, high frequency jolts of force feedback, which is great, but that starts vibrating stuff around the place. You can dial that down in the software, but just to be aware, there is a constant noise from this wheelbase when you're using it. There's a constant, it's like a, a high-pitched whine when you're going slowly, and it gets lower. So if you turn off the volume completely, it goes like woo, like there's a real kind of a, I don't know, a noise from it. Now, I turned off True Force with my Logitech wheelbase for that exact reason. But what, the million-dollar question, what you all wanted to know, the EVO Pro, is it worth getting it? This is phenomenal force feedback. This is excellent. It's very clean. I've not changed anything in their profile either, so I'm sure I could get even more out of this. Let's do it just a quick couple of corners and anger here. Really send it over the limit here. There's a little bit of damping maybe that I would dial down. Let me just do that in the software here. Okay, there's a mechanical damper. I do like a little bit of friction. Feedback detail is at 20 and wheel rotation speed is at 40, which seems quite low, to be honest. But that's what the profile was. Dynamic prediction level, let's just leave that as it is. And let's send it here with less damping. Okay, I feel a lot of artifacts through the steering wheel now. Not unlike in a real car, to be honest. In a real, very hard bush steering rack, you kind of get that. Oh, that's just me being incompetent while I'm trying to think of things to say. But you feel that little bit of vibration. Okay, very little feedback there, but that's just an Assetto Corsa thing. When you're sliding like that, there's not much vibration feedback. The wheel loads up nicely in the corners, so I can feel it trying to self-correct with the momentum of the car. Really, really good. And like, those forces were all there with the Sport, guys. But the Sport was just a little weak. This now, 15 Newton meters, I would happily run it like this. It must be said that the Sport felt more powerful in iRacing than in Assetto Corsa. Assetto Corsa is my go-to where I compare everything. But I did some races in iRacing, and the EVO Sport did seem more powerful in iRacing. So I don't know if it's an Assetto Corsa specific thing, but if I'm comparing to other wheelbases, I really have to use the software that I'm, you know, it has to be a common benchmark. And for the foreseeable future of this channel, this is my benchmark. This car, this track, the force feedback in this sim is absolutely exceptional. Force feedback with this wheelbase is absolutely exceptional. That is good. Let's crank it up a notch. Let's throw this up. I don't even know if I want to do this. To 18 Newton meters. So we've got extra weight in it here. So I don't know if you guys probably can't hear that vibration going through my rig, but it really is like a bass shaker. Road detail, I'm not getting a massive amount here. Curb detail is excellent. I can only imagine in LMU when you get a flat spot, that vibration that you get. Ah, this is really nice. But still, 18 Newton meters, I would have expected even more from this. This probably feels... I mean, this feels close to like 15 Newton meters to me. Maybe 14, 15 Newton meters. Again, not scientific, guys. Take it with a pinch of salt. All I'm saying is, this is not 18 Newton meters. Is this more than what most people will run it at? Abso-feckin-lutely. For sure. You're definitely, this is more than enough. And the range of detail, I think I can feel a beautiful range of detail. And you can tweak that, road friction, all that. Those sliders seem very intuitive and simple. This will vibrate bolts loose on your rig, for sure, because it does a lot of vibrating. But the force feedback experience is really nice. It really is an excellent piece of kit. I'm looking forward to using it over the next couple of... It's very direct. It feels very connected to the car, to the front axle, which is one of the things that we're always striving for. The last thing you want is for the wheel to move slower or faster, and that's actually an interesting thing to try. let's go for, oh god, doesn't like being on the curbs there. Let's just try and go for wheel rotation speed. Let's throw that to 100 and just see what happens here. I think I feel even more detail in the force feedback now. Oh man. The vibrations through the rig are something else, guys. I don't think you guys are like gonna hear them on the final edit for this, but my god, I don't know if you can even hear it in my voice, some of the vibration, but that's like really, really, you know, what would happen. Imagine driving one of these in real life and just trying to talk while holding onto the steering wheel. You would get vibrated, you know, and you would hear that in your voice. So that is quite realistic. I'm just trying to send it here and see how quickly. I think that upping that wheel speed definitely made. Yeah, I can feel it pulling really, really quickly. It probably was slightly better. Oh, don't want that. It probably would feel better, maybe just around 60 or so. Feedback detail, I might just throw that down a little bit because that does contribute to that vibration. And let's just go a little bit harder here. For those of you wondering, should you upgrade from your existing Alpha or Alpha U? Well, that feels nice. From your existing Alpha or Alpha U? No, they already have exceptional feedback. Oh, wow. What did I just change? Oh, yeah, that is class. That was nice. So there was it's a very natural feeling of the grip of the tires. Now, again, I have never driven one of these cars in real life. So I am just imagining what the natural grip of the front wheels would feel like. But I would put money on it that those used to driving Formula cars like this would get a similar feeling. And if you see the way that wheel moves coming down the straight here, the way it goes left and right with the slight undulations on the road, really is, this is top quality force feedback, guys. Make no mistake, even though I'm skeptical about the true power, so they call it max torque, but we're used to industrial terms like peak torque and holding torque. They call it max torque, and apparently that's a different thing. So I don't know, and all I have as a reference is those industrial motors that we have been using to date, including the Simagic Alpha series. Just be prepared if you're going from and I have not used the 12 Newton meter base, the middle option for the EVO. Just be aware, if you're going from a Moza R9 to an R12, well, the R9 isn't that powerful. If you're going from, let's see, if you're going from the Simagic Alpha Mini to the EVO, the mid-range EVO, I would imagine the power is somewhat similar. Even though the Simagic Alpha Mini is a 10 Newton meter and the EVO is a 12 Newton meter, I would imagine, just based on what I've seen with the Sport and the Pro, and I don't have the 12 Newton meter version here, just going based off that, I think, like, even if somebody went from a Simagic Alpha to this EVO Pro, I think that they could potentially, it's more of a traversal rather than an upgrade. So you really would need those features, those extra features for the upcoming steering wheels, because bear in mind, you don't get any benefit with the current steering wheels. You don't get that additional Simhub support. You don't get any of that at the moment. You would need to, I would still need to connect via the USB hub with my Maglink to get those that functionality. So I put a post on the Simagic subreddit. It got lots and lots of questions, 142 comments in total. Only some of those are questions, a lot of it is discussion, so there are a lot less than that when it comes to questions. I'm going to answer the top level question on each. What's better or worse about the EVO compared to the Alpha that I have? Honestly, if you have an Alpha, there is no reason to upgrade. It's not even an upgrade to the Pro. Facts. That is, well, facts, it's my opinion. But I have reviewed a lot of wheelbases. The Alpha is still so high up there. I'm not sure why this traversal with different power bands, why they've decided to do this. It would make sense if at some stage they release an EVO Ultimate, which is going to be like 23 or 25 Newton meters. That would make sense to me because they've already gone for the Pro, the Sport. That's kind of semi-cube naming. I don't like that the middle one isn't named anything. It's just a 12 Newton meter, I guess. But yeah, hopefully that answers that particular question. We'll go for the next one. Will the Alpha line extension rods work with the new EVOs? No, they will not. It is a new extension that they'll be coming up with. It won't even work for the old steering wheels as far as I'm aware. Now, I would imagine that that could be wrong, that might be wrong information. I tried to get more information out of it, but all I can think in my head is if the existing wheels work and the existing extension just extends the existing wheels, surely that should work with the EVOs as well. It won't work with the Zeus range, the ones with the fancy screens and all that kind of stuff. That's understandable. But as far as Simagic have answered this question directly to me, they said no, the old rods will not work with the new wheelbases. Again, that's just what they told me. Next up, is that a generic USB hub on the back? No, it's not. The USB connections are for the CAN bus, so the old devices. The Ethernet style ports, even though there are 8 of them, I don't know why there are so many of them, but anyway, they're for future devices. So not for existing devices. So when you want to hook up the like a standalone, I mean, you don't have to do any cabling for the dash, for example, for the upcoming wheels. So I don't know exactly what you'd plug in there other than shifter, handbrake, pedals. I don't know. But look, Simagic might have some stuff up their sleeve. Hopefully that answers that question. Next one, is the price going to change due to tariffs? Don't want to get into tariff debate, but the answer is quite obviously yes. Tariffs will always increase prices. General comparison to Alpha and Alpha Mini. I already did. I think the Alpha, the EVO 12 Newton meter is likely to be closer to the Alpha Mini than the Alpha. That's just my opinion based on the Mini and the Alpha that I've had and used very, very extensively. I haven't used the 12 Newton meter. I'm making the assumptions based off the differences between the 9 Newton meter and the 18 Newton meter. Those numbers seem higher than they should. And that's not compared to the Alpha, that's compared to all other bases. They're probably quite similar to what power Moza outputs. I've always found that Moza advertises slightly more power than they actually put out. For example, the Asetek La Prima is a 12 Newton meter. The Logitech Pro is 11 Newton meter. The Moza R12 is nowhere near as powerful as the two of those. Just putting it into perspective. So those numbers can skew slightly. They're not like for like. In this case, it's definitely the case. The 9 Newton meter feels very much like a CSL-DD with the power adapter. Maybe even less powerful than that. But it's still a great force feedback experience. Don't get me wrong. It's just don't expect crazy amounts of power, especially if you're a bigger person or whatever. You know, don't expect that power. You get loads of detail, you get lots of that stuff. It's great, but I find myself lacking. So I would not be recommending the Sport to people where I would have recommended the Alpha Mini highly in the past. So just putting that into perspective, the Alpha is still absolutely incredible. The 15 Newton meter Simagic Alpha, if you can get one of those cheap, and now is a good time to get those cheap. My one worry would be that Simagic for some reason stops supporting the software on that, similar to what happened with the Simagic M10. I hope not. I hope that it never gets to that stage, but it is a concern. If that never happens, and if we could get a promise from Simagic that they're never going to stop supporting or never make it obsolete, as in even if it's on an older software version and you can't ever use newer steering wheels, I would be happy with that. And the Alpha, any of the Alpha range, the existing Alpha Mini, Alpha, or Alpha U are exceptional. I think the Alpha range is better than the EVO range. I think the force feedback on the EVO might be just slightly crisper, but I just feel there's something about the power of the alphas that, and maybe it's just me being used to it, I don't know. I don't want to overthink it, but my gut is saying the alphas still have slightly better force feedback, or not better power. I think the alpha EVOs have better force feedback. In a blind test, I would actually be able to tell the difference. Normally I say I wouldn't, but that rattling and vibration is, I can feel that. And that's not a bad thing. Similar to the Logitech True Force, I can kind of feel that. There's extra detail there. I think I would be able to tell this apart in a blind test. And I think that versus other 12 Newton meter or even 18 Newton meter wheelbases, I'd be able to tell this one apart, because another 18 Newton meter wheelbase, I wouldn't be able to hold on to it. This one I can. Again, speaking just for Assetto Corsa, because when I did run the EVO Sport in iRacing, it felt more powerful, and the force feedback was excellent in iRacing as well. Again, all I can do is go off my benchmark that I always go off. Rant over. Simagic GT Neo has extra pins. Do they support USB Passthrough? Yes, they do. Only for the newer steering wheels that are not released yet, and we don't get Simhub support without running Maglink. Apparently, there is a mod you can do to allow the existing wheels to run Maglink. That's just something someone told me. My experience here with 2 of the EVO wheelbases is that Simhub does not find the devices at all. So even though this says yes right under this comment, it is not correct in my experience. Just putting that out there. All right, let's collapse that one. Hi Lawrence, do you know how the EVO compares to the Simagic Pro 2 and Ara's Platinum? I haven't used the Ara's Platinum. I have the Ara's 10 Newton meter on the shelf behind me. I haven't put that on the rig yet. The encoder, the Simagic encoder, this whole thing that they've got, the marketing spiel about the cogging and stuff, forget about the cogging. I didn't notice a lot of cogging with the Alpha series. Some wheelbases, like some of the Moza, especially the R12 and lower, you can get that little bit of cogging. The R16, R21, it's way, way less, especially with software updates over time. It's gotten way, way better. So don't worry about cogging. The detail of the force feedback, 21-bit, like if anyone can tell the difference between 21-bit and 23-bit, I'd be very, very surprised. Simagic is excellent for a reason, and it's not just that encoder. Let me just put that out there. It's also the quality that they use. Why didn't they use USB-C ports? Honestly, I don't know. Do they come with an e-stop? No. And the e-stop with the Alpha, I had an e-stop with the Alpha U. It was pretty useless. It was just a USB disconnect. So in some titles, you had to exit out and go back in. It was a bit annoying. It wasn't the power cut. There is an on-off switch, though. On all these bases, there is an off switch. So the mounting options, you can base mount, you can side mount, but there is no front mount, no native front mount. You can buy these little clamp brackets that go into the side mounts, and they give you a front mount. I think part of the reason they've done that is so that you can attach those screens still and don't have to worry too much about it. Now, I'm not sure if that front mount is compatible with screens. I don't have it here, so I can't confirm that. Hopefully that answers that question. Considering the amount of ports on the back, can I plug a dial-in modem? Okay, we'll ignore that one. It's funny. Would my existing QR an extension? No, we've already answered that one. Will not work according to Simagic, although I don't see a technical reason why it shouldn't. So please correct me in the comments. I don't have that extension here, so I can't answer it properly. Is the housing metal like the Alpha or plastic? It is metal, and then the rear housing is plastic. So yeah, that's what they're saying here in the background as well. So if I'm recording a video, what do you need? Any improvement with frequency channel issues? I don't know. I haven't used the older steering wheels extensively on this, but I have never, because I had the Alpha U on here extensively ever since they fixed all my connection issues, my connectivity issues. I never had any issues with the GT4, the GT1, GTS, the GT Pro button box. I never had any issues with any of the connectivity when using the wireless wheels anyway, or wired. Dan covered a lot of it in his stream today. Didn't post a review, but he was incredibly surprised. Said it was most responsive wheelbase he's used. Okay, yeah, then the price is very, very good. That's okay. That's interesting that Dan Suzuki had that. I'm not sure why there was. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I was told not to give my opinion until this video release, so that's kind of interesting. I just super excited to receive your 12 Newton meter EVO. Okay, yeah, that's one thing as well. People are. This was 2 days ago. People have been receiving their pre-orders before the reviews actually went live, which is kind of weird. So a little bit strange. I feel like this whole thing. Okay, Simagic is changing management and all that. The whole thing could be managed a lot better. The whole embargoes, the info that's out there, people release. Don't be surprised to see videos released before this video. I'm following the embargo rules, but not everybody is, or some people seem to have a pass to not do that. So, and that's straight. That's Simagic's fault. Nobody else's fault. I see the front mount for the wheelbases on lots of wheel sites. It doesn't show how it connects to the wheelbase. It connects as a side mount onto the side of it. So that's how that works. Okay. I want to know how the quick release has passed through and how it will connect to that's the QR-A. Again, I cannot go into detail on that one. I'll show up a picture of it here, but I can't tell you any detail about that. I haven't used it. It is a simple Simagic quick release with a USB port in it. That's all it is. For what it's worth, a bunch of questions about compatibility have been answered on the official Simagic Discord. That's fine. I don't really look at any opinions before I get to give my own opinions. It just keeps my reviews very honest and my frame of reference. I'm not going by anything that someone else found or whatever. If I find an issue, other people may find it as well, but I don't want to just look out for an issue because someone else found it. I want to give a really kind of a raw, isolated experience of this. And that has limitations as well, don't get me wrong, but that's why I do it this way. So that's why I want to answer a lot of these questions before I go and see what answers other people have given. Console compatibility, no. Are the torque numbers peak or holding force? I answered that earlier. It was max torque, they call it. So it's neither peak nor holding. Whatever it is, max torque is less than what we would have had to date with the previous alphas and lots of other brands. The only ones that I have seen that are actually quite similar when it comes to advertising X amount and it feels less powerful is the Moza R12 and lower. They kind of have that same type of thing, whereas then the R16 feels insanely powerful. But like the Asetek La Prima is a 12 Newton meter, and that would rip your arms off as well. So the torque numbers are slightly different, so don't be just totally bought into the torque numbers. Reading into this question, the only one that I recommend people getting right now based off the price and my experience is the Pro. I think it's excellent. It is very, very good. You will not be disappointed with it. And if you had a choice between an Alpha U and an EVO Pro, I would probably still go for the EVO Pro. I wouldn't upgrade from an Alpha U to an EVO Pro because it's not an upgrade. The Alpha U has more power, but for longevity, future options, all that, I think that the EVO is the one to go for. Is the feeling of the EVO bases better, more detailed than the normal Alpha? If yes, what do you feel in the difference? I feel micro vibrations, if that makes sense. I feel a lot more, and it doesn't feel canned. It does feel like it's coming from the simulator, which is very nice. So you just feel that extra little level of detail that was maybe missing, that little layer, that little cream on the top of what the previous Alpha all had. And it does, I mean, force feedback wise, it puts it right up there. There are only a few manufacturers, as far as I'm concerned, that can handle this level of quality. That is Asetek, Logitech, Simhub, and Simagic at the moment. VRS, very, very good. What else? I'm going to miss out brands here. I shouldn't have started naming them. I haven't used the Conspit stuff. The SimLab stuff, haven't reviewed that. The Track Racer stuff, haven't reviewed that. So there are lots of brands that I haven't. I can tell you the ones that don't have it, and that's even though I haven't used the Club Sport 12 Newton meter one, Fanatec, I never experienced this kind of force feedback. Trustmaster, never experienced it. Camus is good. Camus force feedback is good with those C5 and C12. Anyway, we're going in a tangent there, but just that gives you a little bit of perspective on the force feedback. For those keeping score, you've learned nothing from this. Okay, that's just someone kind of trolling. Why no true force? Honestly, it's similar to true force. What I'm feeling here is similar to true force on like 10%, where I liked to have it. So there is a true force element to this. I'm surprised that Simagic didn't lead with that marketing to combat that true force thing, rather than going the cogging direction, which is something that I just never really subscribed to much. That true force, that extra level of detail, I feel like they have raised the bar a little bit with that from a wheelbase that doesn't use that as a marketing advantage, if that makes sense. Right. Does it turn on from the button on the back? Yes, it does. Thankfully. Delighted with that. Do those rear USB? No, it's not a USB hub at the back. It only serves Simagic. Is the Sport powerful enough for someone new to DD? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But you will at some stage in the future upgrade it. The beauty of the Sport at that price is you will sell it secondhand. Absolutely no problem. The 12 Newton meter I have not used. I think that the 12 Newton meter could be enough for a lot of people to never need to upgrade. But I think that the Pro is definitely the one to go for. I just have to reiterate that. I know it's more expensive and all that. I want to know why I had to pre-order without any reviews. What is with that embargo? If it wasn't for the trust you've developed, I wouldn't have taken that kind of chance. Interesting. Very valid point here. It is a very messy release. I would like to know if I can have one. I guess these are Xbox compatible. No talk of that right now. Why is the Sport less strong than the Mini? It's far less strong than the Mini. I would nearly go as far as to say I would imagine the 12 Newton meter. If the 12 Newton meter is 30% more powerful, it is similar in power to what the Mini currently is, just because those torque figures are different. They look really nice. I should try it. Okay. Are the wheel rims going to connect via physical? Yes, they're largely physical. I'm not sure. I haven't tested a lot of the older ones. I don't know if there is a wireless capability in there. Don't know. Love your content, Lawrence. Thank you very much. I'd like to know which one is your favorite force feedback, the EVO Pro or the Alpha U. I would say force feedback alone, the EVO Pro. Yeah. The Alpha U has more power, and it's kind of a it's a very hard one. It's a very I would never tell anyone to change from an Alpha U to an EVO Pro, because for many in a blind test it wouldn't be possible to tell that difference. I think that the extra vibration from the EVO Pro, I would actually feel that. When is the attachable dashboard coming? I don't know. How much better is it than your DIY hoverboard wheel? I do not know that. Why are there so many ports? I do not have a clue. It's a lot of ports on the back of it. Is there going to be a solution to convert the alphas to the new QR system? No, there's not. It's an entirely different architecture. So you will not be able to use a QR-A with the USB pass-through on the older wheelbases. That's just the way it is. What is the upgrade over the Alpha, for example, besides the superficial? I haven't read a word about the EVO yet. So I think I've already answered that. Distance of the holes, exact same mounting pattern as before. Does the Neo still need the mag connector for Simhub support? Yes, it does. It says here it has USB pass-through. That is only for the newer upcoming wheels. What else? Compatibility with third-party wheels. They mention an improved open ecosystem. I do like that approach. They've got that QR-A. Hopefully that will be, they'll have a better version than the one that they gave me that doesn't deliver enough power to the wheel. How are they compared with the CSL-DD and other wheelbases? So the CSL-DD force feedback, I'd say the CSL-DD is probably comparable to the Sport. The main thing that the CSL-DD has is those Fanatec steering wheels tend to be lighter, so you get more detail in the force feedback for the size of the motor. I think that the Sport still has better force feedback. It can control the bigger, heavier wheels just a little bit better. So CSL-DD, if you were upgrading, I would at least go for the 12 Newton meter. If not, just call it a day and go for the Pro straight away. Moza R12 V2. The R12 upgrade to the Pro would be a great upgrade. Don't even consider any of the other ones. If you want to switch to Simagic, only go from the R12 up to the Pro. Force feedback quality, already covered. Excellent. Is the quoted torque constant or peak? I already did that. The constant arrays I have not used yet. Why is it so much lighter than the Alpha series? It's an entirely different type of motor. It's not the normal industrial motor. They custom designed this. They've got a patented system that allows for that slip ring and the power pass-through and all that. It is a completely custom motor. I think the obvious question everyone wants to know, how do they compare? Okay, we've done a lot of those comparisons. I haven't used the VRS 15. The Logitech Pro, I did give a comparison there. The Logitech Pro is more powerful than the EVO Sport. I would imagine it's somewhat similar to the EVO 12 Newton meter, which I do not have here. So hopefully that answers that. Alpha Ultimate still worth it, 100%. Again, just that long-term support thing. I would love to have it in writing from Simagic that they will never just discontinue support for the Alpha U. That would be amazing, because then they could. Right now they're selling them side by side. It would be very disingenuous to tempt people with a low price and then next year pull the rug from under them and get rid of all software support. That would suck. The Simagic stalks, no idea. I've never used those. How is the Alpha Mini compared to the EVO in terms of torque? Already answered. Mounting, what's it like? Exactly the same as the previous Alphas. Okay, that's all good. Which one would you personally get? Pro, all the way. The Pro is fantastic. And guys, one thing that I just really want to reiterate, the form factor of these Simagic wheelbases is better than anything out there. Better than Simicube, better than Asetek, better than Moza, better than everything out there. The way that they're just nice and compact. Even the Alpha series, I absolutely love that. That for me is an important consideration. They look excellent on a rig, and you can get that really nice, I guess, FOV, really nice proximity to the screen, depending on how you set everything up. Should you stick with your Alpha Mini? Yes, I would. Unless you want loads more power, I would go to the Pro, or keep an eye out for cheap Alpha or Alpha U, because they are going to come on the market cheap if people are getting rid of them. What you would upgrade to from an Alpha U, I do not know, and most Alpha owners that I know never want to upgrade. So Alpha owners, Alpha U owners, there's nothing out there to upgrade to, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Good morning. Able to get the EVO. Okay, it doesn't work. Yeah, there's a software release. You need firmware for that. The summary, the one you all want to know about. Yeah, I've answered a lot of them throughout this video. This is a relatively long video, guys, but you guys know how important this is to my audience. Simagic is part of the reason this channel got big. I've been a very open critic, very honest about Simagic throughout all the years, the way they did things and stuff, and I'm glad to see them restructuring things in many ways. But this again was a relatively messy release. There are some things you can see that they're still realigning. This is not a perfectly streamlined product line right now. They're still in a transition phase. So I cannot say ditch your Alphas and go for the Evos. My big concern, again, are they going to stop supporting Alphas? I would love if Simagic, they would gain so much trust and market share if they release a statement saying, we are not, definitely not dropping Alpha support until 2030. People will be like, holy crap, all right, let's do this. Okay, the secondhand market would thrive. The Evos would sell like hotcakes because people would be like, oh, well, Simagic is such a good company. I really think that that's the way Simagic needs to approach this. So that's my only concern there. As for force feedback, the force feedback is noticeably better. In a blind test, because of the characteristics of the force feedback, I would tell the difference between this force feedback and probably anything I've ever used, including Simicube. There are aspects of it, especially around the 11 Newton meter, 12 Newton meter range, where it feels a little bit like true force, that little bit of vibration that you get, but it's a different type of force. So it is unique in that sense. You get a kind of a frequency vibration that seems to be high at the start, and as you go faster, it's a lower vibration. And stuff on your rig rattles like you would have in a real race car. It's kind of like a bass shaker for engine revs, but it's like extremely powerful, like an extremely powerful bass shaker. You can damper that out, but I wouldn't. Honestly, I would only do that if that becomes a big a problem. If that worries you, maybe this isn't the wheelbase for you, but there will be noise from it that other wheelbases do not have. If anybody has a pre-order on for the Alpha series and they're worried, oh, now the Evo is out, my thing is obsolete, I would not worry. Again, what I said about that, support for Alpha long term, hopefully that will all be fine. I think if you're really worried about it, you can always return your Alpha and go for the Evo. It is strange that the Alpha or the Evo range is cheaper than the Alpha range, as in the tiers, but they also have less power. And again, those quoted power metrics, those power figures, they're for max torque, it's called, not peak torque or holding torque. I imagine it's somewhere in the middle, but it actually feels lower than what we would have had with previous models. Like I say, the R12 and lower are the only ones that I feel don't necessarily have that huge. Now, the R12 got big software firmware updates, so that actually became like, it feels more powerful than it did back when I reviewed it. So that is interesting, because I only just came from an R12 to this, specifically just to try and compare that. So I did LMU, iRacing, Assetto Corsa with the R12 for several weeks, months even, just in preparation for this review. So the R12 has gotten better. I think there may be more power that they can unlock with firmware here if those figures are correct. I think maybe they've played it down perhaps to keep the base nice and cool. I don't know. The base does stay nice and cool. Well, you can feel that it gets warmer, but not hot to touch. It's a different architecture to previous wheels. What else? The wheel rims, everything works. All the wheel rims that I tried, I've done drifting, I've done lots of things. The software is relatively easy to tweak. I had early release software, so I did have some little bugs there, but that's nothing for you guys to worry about as far as I can see. The force feedback did feel more powerful in iRacing than it did in Assetto Corsa, which is weird. Again, Assetto Corsa is just my benchmark. That's the one that I always use to compare force feedback. If I change that benchmark, I'd have to re-review absolutely every wheel I've ever done. So that's just the way this channel works. And unless a company specifically says, well, we don't actually support Assetto Corsa, then Assetto Corsa no longer becomes relevant. But I do know that the experience between Assetto Corsa and iRacing has been very consistent to date. This is the first wheelbase ever where it feels less powerful on Assetto Corsa than it does on iRacing. Again, very, very strange. Not sure why that is. That's just my experience. So long story short, is this a good investment? Yes, damn right it is. Simagic is pressing all the right buttons, doing all the right things. I think as far as a company that's undergoing restructure is performing, I think that they're doing a really good job of it, all things considered. Simagic never set out to be the cheapest, but these are madly well priced. The force feedback is up there with the very, very best. I really think that companies like Asetek, like Simhub need to get these wheelbases, examine what they've done, and really need to kind of just take on board what they're doing and feel those differences for themselves. Asetek and Simhub have incredible force feedback. Again, though it's that similar style of the way the force feedback is delivered. There are micro vibrations in this that seem to only come from the simulator, and they're really good. They're really nice. I think that it does add to the driving experience, and as long as you've got, sound playing and stuff, you don't hear those. If you're in a silent room, like if your partner is watching TV in the same room or in the next room, the EVO bases definitely are not for you, because that detail, even though you can dampen it out, it makes a lot of sound. So that's just something to be concerned about, something to be aware of. Yeah, a lot of people worried about their existing alphas, but that is understandable. I can't answer that question for you. Hopefully, this was a very useful insight for you. This is a very short-term review. I have spent a lot of time with these. This is not exactly first impressions, even though the videos that you've seen have been me giving my first impressions of the devices. I have been using them for a longer period of time, so I know quite a lot about them now. If you have any questions that are still unanswered, please feel free to look in the comments below. Maybe someone else has already asked it, or you can ask the question there. If you feel like buying one of these, I also have affiliate links which you can use if you want to support this channel. Absolutely no obligation to do so. Do watch other reviewers as well, guys. This is just my opinion, and I've not watched any other videos, so for all I know at this point, everybody else disagrees with me. So please do your research properly. And that's it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it though. This is going to be on the rig for the foreseeable future, and so far absolutely loving it, really enjoying it. Hopefully I've answered all your questions. There were a lot of them. Thank you very much for watching. I stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 PM UK and Irish time. For now, I'm Lawrence, and I'll chat to you later.